Hi everybody, Diana here at Sew Uncommon. Welcome into my channel and welcome to our Quilt Lab show, which is every Sunday. And this Sunday Quilt Lab is about our new pattern, Diamond in a Cross. We're so glad that you're with us. So it's been a crazy week here. As some of you know, we had a family emergency, which is still a bit ongoing and will be for a while. Yesterday we were gone all day for something that I had to do. That went really well, so that was done. But last night I slept like a baby. I just slept all night long. I was so tired and worn out. But today is all about our diamond and a cross. And so today we're going to introduce the pattern. We're going to talk about the segments. And I put in 3 video clips on how to create each segment. 2 of them are from our Build a Quilt Basics systems. So really nice. And the other one is the only one that I had for the modified half square triangle. Um, it's fine and it will work good, but you might hear me talking about stuff that you have no clue about what I'm talking about. It's just that little video clip, I didn't voice over it. I just am putting it in there for you because a whole video on modified half square triangles is coming when our new set comes out. And speaking of that new modified half square triangle set, I've got pages and pages and more pages in my notebook. The other night, I sat for a couple of hours and did nothing but sketch out the ones that I thought would be most useful in our upcoming set, our upcoming Build-A-Quilt set. And I sketched out 8 of them. They won't all 8 come in the set, but they're the ones that I thought were most useful. A couple of them are variations of one another. And so those might just have like a tag information in there that if you exchange this segment for this segment, you'll get this one or something like that. But there's a lot of them. And there were more. Those were the 8 I chose. Those were the 8 I thought gave you the most variety. But that's coming relatively soon. I'm sorry, I really do have something in my eye again today. I think it's actually my eye is just really dry, super dry around here. So excuse me while I take just a sip of water. All righty. So the first thing let's do is introduce our diamond in a cross block. Now, the pattern set comes in 3 sizes. You get a 6x6 finished, a 8. Sorry, let me just start again. A 6x6 finished, a 9x9 finished, and a 15x15 finished. That's the one you see here. I put the big one up here. It's easier for you to see. And you get all the digital designs for that and all of the instructions. So let's just talk about for a minute. This set can be purchased over in the website, but remember, if you're a subscription, Quilt Lab subscription member, then you will have received your code. That code, when you check out at the website with this pattern, you put in that code and then this code becomes free. Okay, that's how that works. Alrighty. And be careful, you can only download it with that code one time. So make sure you downloaded it and you put it in your either a USB or on your computer, wherever you're going to store it. Then if something goes wrong, just contact me and we'll fix the problem. We'll get you the new one. So of course, with the pattern, I always tell you what segments right off the bat are going to be in this pattern. We're going to be doing a half square triangle, a modified half square triangle, and a diamond in a square. Then you get some general supply information. You get our layout template. You get our coloring sheet template so you can play around with colors. And then you get the cut sheet for these. This is for the modified half square triangle, the diamond in a square, and the half square triangle. And we're going to go over that here a little bit more. And then you get more instructions, and then you get our diagrammed out instructions. Okay, so you get all of that within your package. Plus, then you have this video to refer back to as well. Okie doke. So let's start off by talking about what's in the diamond and a cross block. So as you can see in the center, we have a diamond and a square. So that's our diamond. And then on our four corners, we just have our half square triangles. And then our north, south, east, and west are our modified half square triangles. So 3 segments. You're going to be making 4 half square triangles, 4 modified half square triangles, and 1 diamond in a square. Now let's look at each one of these a little bit closer. This is your half square triangle. So in your instructions, let me get to that page in the instructions because I want you to, under the template layout, it says fabric A should be, and fabric A is this fabric here, should be light or medium in color value, a solid or a print. So I've actually used a batik. Both of these are batiks, but this is more of a solid batik. This is more of a print batik, obviously. So I used a lighter color here. So you could use a light or a medium because the B fabric, which is this one, is going to be medium or dark in color value and either a print or solid and should coordinate with fabric A. So pretty easy to follow that instruction, right? And that's what we did here. Fabric A, I chose a light, and I'm considering this B fabric to be more of a medium, and it's a print versus the solid. And that's your half square triangle. That's what a half square triangle is. It's a square cut diagonally. Whoops, let me get it in the right direction. Diagonally in half. One half is one color, one half is the other color. Now, your second one is the modified half square triangle, which you see in the north, south, east, and west positions. That's this one. Now, let's talk about the modified half square triangle for a moment, because here's another block that's similar. It's not the same block, but it's similar. And you can see right here, this modified half square triangle is done in 3 colors. And you can do that with a modified half square triangle. That's one of the reasons you do the modification, so that you can get different fabrics in there. And then that creates a different look and shape to the pattern. However, this month with our diamond and a cross, so that you really see that cross shape, I didn't want 3 colors. I wanted it to be 2. But you still need a modified half square triangle, because in this upper half, let's just look at the single one. In this upper half of it has to match the fabric B, and half of it has to match the fabric A. That's it. This is called a single modified half square triangle. One modification. The second half is split into 2 pieces. That's a single modified, okay? And so you're going to do your one half here, the biggest half, in your fabric B. And then here you're going to do your fabric B and your fabric A. And in the instructions, I don't know if it says this specifically in the little video clip I'm giving you, but in the instructions, let me get to those. Here we go. In the instruction sheets, in here, it tells you to actually start, because of the way this is in the file comes into your machine. You're going to start with fabric B at the top, then go to fabric A, and then move over to fabric B. And that's exactly what it shows you and tells you in the instructions, okay? So I want you to follow those instructions for placements. The video just shows you fabric gets laid down for and that sort of thing. I wanted you to be able to see that. So in this one, we've got 2 pieces of our fabric, 2 pieces of our fabric B, and this little piece of our fabric A. That makes our modified half square triangle. Now, our diamond in a square, this is a completely different sample. I didn't have another one in the same fabric, but you can see in the center, you have what here is our fabric B. And then our corners get made from our fabric A. All done in one hooping. Each one of these are done in a hooping, or if you use a larger hoop, you could probably make a couple of these. So if you have a larger hoop, you could at least probably make 2 to 3 of these modifieds in one hooping, and 2 to 3 of the half square triangles in a hooping, and then whatever you have left, a diamond and a square, a modified, and an HST in another hooping. So you could probably, if you have at least a 9 by 14 frame, you could do 3 hoopings and have all of your pieces done if you're making the largest block. If you're making the 9 by 9 or the 6 by 6, um, smaller, larger hoops will do that for you as well. So you should be able to get away with this without having to do 9 hoopings, unless you have just the 5 by 7 hoop, and that's fine. That's fine. In fact, that's how I did this. I did each one of these in a single hooping. So I had 9 hoopings in my 5 by 7 hoop, and then I had all of my pieces done. Okay. So again, you've got your half square triangle, you've got your modified half square triangle, and you've got your diamond in a square. And you're going to make 4 HSTs, 4 modified HSTs, and one diamond in a square. So not too difficult. And we actually made all of these in 2023 in different patterns. So that half square triangle, you all should be pros at this by now, unless you're brand new with us. And if you are brand new with us and you want to practice making your HSTs, we have a free pattern out there called How to Make an HST, the Mama Block of All Patchwork. And that's a free pattern only in the one size, but you get to try it and get used to it. And getting used to making your half square triangles, what's going to give you your confidence to make everything else, because it's the same type of procedure every time. All righty. So that is our segments, and this is our block again: 15 by 15, 9 by 9, and 6 by 6. I hope those are sizes that you all like. You wanted more sizes. Some of you wanted small, some of you wanted large, some of you wanted those right in the middle. And I really feel like for using them in overall quilts, those 3 sizes are going to give you the best variety, because you could make a whole quilt of the 6 by 6 blocks. You could make a whole quilt of the 15 by 15 or whole quilt by the 9 by 9. But if you use other blocks with it in those sizes, you can mix and match and add them together. And I really just feel like it gives you the most variety, those 3 sizes, because a 6 and a 9 and a 15 are pretty commonly used sizes. So in the future, we might get some other sizes and some of our other patterns, but that's what I chose for the finished sizes for this month's Diamond in a Cross block. And again, you can get that at the website. You can get that at the website, sewuncommon.com. The free pattern over there on that HST free to practice, if you're brand new, is over there as well. All righty, so like I told you, you can make your modified in 3 colors. So now you have, once you purchase your pattern or you get it with your subscription, you have 3 sizes of modified half square triangle, 3 sizes of half square triangle, and 3 sizes of diamond in a square to play with and do whatever you want. So with your diamond in a square, not all of your corners need to be the same fabric. You could do this one and this one the same, this one and this one the same. You could do 3 of them the same and the 4th one different. That would make, so let's imagine if I put that fabric right there for that upper corner. See how that would like fill in this whole area? It would give you a completely different look. Well, that's fun. Play with those design files, make yourself some templates in different varieties, and then make yourself some notes in your notebook. I really like this in this way. I don't like this one. Maybe I like this, but I don't like the fabrics. Whatever notes are helpful for you. But here's one done in 3 fabrics. Just so you can see what that looks like. The instructions are going to tell you how to do it in two, but remember you can play with it and do it in three if you want to. I wouldn't do it in three for this particular block pattern, but for other block patterns, in fact, most of the time you're going to end up doing it in other patterns in three because that split in the colors really helps to shape the different things in those different blocks. Alrighty, so I thought what we would do real quick is we would look at, oh, I just bumped everything. We would look at in one of my bins and choose some colors because we had the orchid is our color winner from our color cards for this month's project. Um, this, believe it or not, this fabric has those colors in it. I know it's really hard to see. This Kelly green here, if we look on the back and we look at the lightest, the very lightest Kelly green, that can kind of go in there. But believe it or not, in here, let me get one of my individual squares and hold it up closer for you. In here, you can see it's got that magenta-y or that orchidy purple in it, a little bit of that magenta in there, a little bit of that ghost white in there. And let me see really close under the light. I wouldn't say that any of this is the lightest pink, but remember when you're working with color and color cards and things like that, you don't have to use all of your colors. Just use the ones you like or the ones that fabric that you have that you like together. So I told you the project we do will be made with some or all of these colors, and that's coming in the next weeks in February. But I wanted to look at some different fabrics so that we can talk about the ideas. So this one right here is considered the magenta, right? Well, what about that solid? That's a pretty good match. What about this one? That's a pretty good match for your orchid. Now these are all solids. That's a little dark purple, but if you wanted a darker orchid, you could use that, but it's definitely a darker purple. Same family, but darker. Okay, now I've got a print here. Now this print was definitely made for breast cancer awareness because it's got the breast cancer awareness ribbon, but maybe you're going to make something with this and you have this type of fabric and you want to use it for that very reason. Something like this is a pretty good fabric to go with these colors. Don't you think? You've got the green, you've got a little bit of that white, you've even got a tiny bit of yellow thrown in, which I like as a tiny accent. Definitely you've got the light pink and you've got the magenta, maybe not much of that orchid color, that purpley color, but that's okay. Again, you don't have to use them all. So this is a good one. And let's see, did we look at this one? Yeah, this one is a nice one for the orchid. And then we talked about this one, is the magenta. Now, what about this one? This is really candy pink. This is not the same type of pink as this one, so I might set this one aside. What about this one? Beautiful butterflies. How does that go? Well, you've definitely got your magenta in there, and you've definitely got that light pink. And is there any white in there? No, not really. So it's really that light pink and the magenta and a little bit of black. But if that's the fabric you have and that's a fabric that you love, then use that. It would still go with that color family. So that could still be one that you use. Oh, I just found some little blocks in my, I don't know what they're doing in here. They must have fallen in. So here is a pink that I think is a really good pink to go with this one. So that's definitely something I could use. And then I have a whole little more grouping of these purpley colors. What about this one? This is really right between these two, isn't it? Really pretty. But if I wanted to use this as my orchid color, I could. It would be a lighter orchid color, but it would be beautiful that way. Now this is not really a solid. Looks more like a weave, but it's a gorgeous fabric. Look at that. That definitely is down in this range here. That could definitely be used. And I think that's pretty close to that. You could get away with that. Alrighty, so we've chosen a lot of the pinkies and the orchids. What about, do I have anything in here that I would use for greens? Oh, here are some greens. Let's take a look at these. Oh, this is definitely a no, right? That's not even close, right? However, if this color were in my print, then I could get away with it, but it's definitely not this color family. So we're going to say no to this one. What about this one? Oh, look at that. That's not exactly the same, but it's pretty close. It's got a little bit more yellow, but I would use this. I would get away. I would let myself get away with that. Okay, I think that's all the ones I want to pick out of here for now, because now I want to talk to you about which ones of these we would pick, because we've got a whole selection here in this color family. So I definitely decide that if I was going to use, if I end up wanting to use green, that would be okay. We've got a lot of these. We said no on that one because it's too candy pink. We've got a lot of these orchids and magentas. We've got a lot of them here. So I could pick two of these and just be done. And this one, boy, do I really like this one. And this fabric, let's see if I've got anything on here that tells me what it is. No, there's no salvage. But I look what this is, a really interesting woven fabric. I don't know where this came from. Maybe it was in a kit or something. But isn't that pretty? It's a woven, but look at that. I just think that's beautiful. So that's a definite maybe for me. But let's bring in our print. Let's talk about the print for a moment. You can see this print. I actually used this print back in our Inspired Star when we did the Inspired Star for Breast Cancer Awareness Week. But let's talk about the idea of the print and this block that we're doing this month. Because here I've chosen a print and a solid. They're batiks, but you know what I mean by solid. This would be more solid. This would be more print. I like the idea of this print because my print has so many of my colors already in it. I mean, when we hold that up, we're just talking everything is in there pretty much. So using this, and this is not too big of a print. Okay, this is going to, when you cut it, this would work out fine. It's not too big of a print, and it really does cover our whole family. So if I find a print that I love, like this one, then all I need to really do is find a solid that I love equally as much. And I think, gosh, I don't know, who's this one at? That one could be it. That could be my solid. That goes really good with the magenta, right? Yeah. So if you're working with a print, try and find a print that has most of your colors that you want to use in it. Okay. If you're using a color card combination like we are here, find one that has most everything in it. Then all you have to do is find a solid that goes with it. Now, although this solid is beautiful, it's not my choice, I don't think, for that print, right? No. So we're going to set that one aside. What about this one? This is a great choice for the color card. So that's a great orchid color. But now let's hold it up with the print. Again, if it's going to be all of this background fabric in here, again, not my best choice, right? So we're going to put that one away. What about the really light pink? Now, if I did this one this way with the print being my cross and the center of my diamond, and the light pink being my background, my cross and the center of my diamond is really going to pop out because this is light And this is definitely medium, but it's got dark in it as well. So this is really going to allow for this to pop out and show. If I use this color, this is still going to pop out and show because this is so much more of a darker value. But you're going to see this color, this magenta color a little bit more prominently than you would see the the print. But I love this combination. Let's see, we got any more here? Again, that's beautiful, but these orchids just aren't quite mixing well with my thing. So now what if I use the green? Now that gives it a this to me gives it a beautiful contrasting look. Instead of that pink is almost just too light for me. So I'm gonna say no to that. But that green, it's not the only green in here, but it's definitely here. It's here. Um, it's in here. I love that green with it. That's definitely going to give you a beautiful contrast. So for me, if I'm choosing from my color card, I'm going to use those two. So what isn't in here? The actual orchid isn't in here, but that's okay. But the magenta's in here, the light pink's in here. Do we have any ghost white in there? No, not really. But we're definitely using, so we're using 1, 2, 3 of the colors from those 5 colors. That's pretty good. That's pretty good average. So those would be the ones that I would use. And then these, I've got to find something to use that for though, because that's really pretty. So I don't know that I have enough of this to do my whole project. In fact, breast cancer awareness fabric, I am not going to make this as the project because I want to make a pillow for someone very special. I'm going to make a 15 by 15 and use that for it. But I will be using colors from the color card for the project. But I wanted to show you guys how I go through fabrics and pick them when I'm looking at color cards. Now, I've got lots of other fabrics that I could look through to pick these. These fabrics that we found today just came from one little bucket, right? That I picked out of there. So super simple to do. All right, everybody. That is this week's Quilt Lab. Don't forget to go to the website, sewincommon.com, pick up your pattern. You're going to get your 3 sizes, all your information. After I sign off here, this video will continue to go and it will be broken down. There will be timestamps in the description that will tell you when the HST demo starts, when the modified HST demo starts, and when the diamond in a square starts, so that you can look at all 3 of those specifically, okay? And then your pattern. And if you are a subscriber to Quilt Lab for this year, to that subscription, you should have received an email late yesterday, maybe early this morning, depending on where you are. And it will have your coupon code in it for you to go and pick up your block set free of charge because it's part of your subscription. Okay. All right. Now, one quick thing I want to let you guys know is that every Wednesday we have Wednesday workshop. And this coming Wednesday, for Wednesday workshop, we're going to be using our Queen of Hearts design set that you can also find over at the website. And I think right now I have it on sale for like $1.50. It's a really inexpensive little design set, but you get 3 sizes again. You get the 4-inch finished, the 5-inch finished, and the 8-inch finished. And since Valentine's Day is the end of the next week, we're going to do a little project together on Wednesday with the Queen of Hearts set. So you can grab that while you're grabbing your diamond in a square or your diamond in a cross. Okay, everybody, excuse me. Again, that's it for this week's Quilt Lab. I'm Diana here at Sew in Common. I just want to thank you all so much. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. We'd love to have you as part of the Sew in Common family. Please keep liking and sharing your videos. That allows more people to see them and has more people join us for all of our quilting fun, where we make our patchwork in the hoop of our embroidery machine. Until next time, everyone, have a great week. Go grab your diamond and a cross. Start making yourself a prototype in in some of your scrap fabric to get used to the idea of making it. And then next week we'll start working on the project. See you then. Bye for now. And of course, as always, so life beautiful, everybody. Okay, so here we are at my machine camera. And the first square or block that we're going to create is the half square triangle. Now we're going to go through and make the half square, the quarter square, and the square in the hoop. And then we'll go back over under my other camera and we will talk about how we trim these, because you trim all blocks in that manner. So we'll do those all at once. You can see here I have my tools available, my scissors, my glue stick, my stylus if I need it, my seam roller, and my embroidery tape. And right here I have my two fabrics. So I've also loaded my file on my machine. On this particular machine, I loaded it through a USB stick. You might be able to load your files through the Wi-Fi if you have a more modern machine that can do that. So somehow you have loaded your file onto your machine and you should know how to complete that. Now today I'm going to be stitching in a black thread so that you can see it a little more easily. I have loaded my hoop with a standard wash away stabilizer, one that we would use for, say, making freestanding lace. So now I'm going to go to step one, which is basically going to give me what I call the border outline. And you'll find that information also written in the written instructions along with the step-by-step diagrams as well. So it is just stitching out my main border. And because we are doing a square, of course, that border is a square. And what it's showing us is that this finished box is going to be our finished size. Okay. When we trim it out, we'll talk about what else this box represents for us in the piecing process. Now, a half square triangle is always two pieces of fabric. I've chosen this yellow and this polka dot, this aqua with the light yellow polka dot. So I have those prepared. But the second step also gets stitched directly to your stabilizer, and it will give us the placement outline for our first piece of fabric, which is going to be our lighter color or our yellow fabric. So let's do that now. Now, I will give you one tip here, because this was something that my shop where I purchased my machines and I came across. I have another machine which is a embroidery only. It's not a combo machine like this one is. And I kept having problems with it not catching stitches on my straight stitch, which is basically the only stitch we use when we're piecing. And what we found out was that it actually needed a sewing bobbin case. So in this machine, because it's a combo, I have a bobbin case for embroidery and a bobbin case for sewing. The straight stitches do better if you use the sewing bobbin case rather than the embroidery bobbin case, because really all we're doing here is straight stitching like we would on a sewing machine. If you have an embroidery only machine, but that machine has a counterpart, which is a sewing machine or a combo machine, then get that sewing bobbin and check with your local dealer for all of that information if you have problems. That can be helpful. So here I'm going to take and use my glue stick. This will show you how to use that. And I'm just going to place a couple little marks right in my upper square or triangle, really, where I'm going to place my fabric. Now I can easily see and easily feel that thread line. So I'm going to lay this fabric so that I have roughly a 1/4 inch of it hanging over or coming past that line. Not a reason to get really worried about it if it's more, because you can always trim it later. Now I place that down. Now I'm ready to stitch out step 3, which is going to be the tack down of that triangle. Oops, I'm going to stop and lift my needle and my foot because my needle came unthreaded. So we'll just rethread real quick. Just a second. Sometimes that happens with machines, right? Thank goodness for auto threaders. There we go. Now we'll start again. And we're doing the tack down of the top half of the half square triangle. Very simple. The half square triangle is probably the most often used block in quilting. And so getting used to making this block will be helpful for you because you're going to end up making a lot of them in your quilting journey. In fact, all 3 of the blocks in our basic set today are probably the 3 most often used blocks in the series or in the quilting series. Alrighty, so now I've tacked that down. If, excuse me, this was way over this line, I could remove my hoop and I could take my scissors and I could just give it a little trim. If it's not straight, it doesn't matter. Just do the best you can. Another good reason to have scissors with a serrated edge, because you're going to get a really fine cut there. But as of course I've used my rotary blade with the pinking blade, I'm good to go. And I am not going to trim the outer edges because that gets trimmed when we trim the whole thing out of the stabilizer at the end. So no need to trim here or here at this point. So now the next thing I'm going to do is lay down my second fabric. But I should tell you that with piecing in the hoop, your first piece of fabric is always laid down right side up. You also get that information in the written instructions. So if this piece were going to be the print, say that was my first piece, I would lay it down right side up every time, no matter what. Now, with a second, third, fourth, or subsequent piece of fabric, you always lay it down right side down or right side together with your other fabric. Now, if you can see here, I've laid this down and you'll see it in the picture diagram in the written instructions where just a tiny bit of my other fabric is showing. I like to make sure and do that. Then I know this is placed exactly where I need it to be for a good seam. Now I'm going to place that in here. I'm going to bring my needle down and my foot down, and I'm going to do the step 4, which is going to stitch this together on top of piece number 1. Alrighty. Now, piece number 5 or step number 5 is what we call the flip and stitch. So we're not done, obviously. We have to get this to be like this. So what I like to do there again is take my glue stick, give myself a little bit right in that square, and I always put my glue right on my stabilizer if possible, because then I know exactly where my boundaries are for that, and I'm not putting it out here anywhere. Now I'm going to take this bottom piece of fabric and I'm going to flip it. So easy. Now It's stuck there because of the glue. Now I can take my seam roller and I can roll my seam and give it a nice little kind of a press there to get it nice and flat. Now, eventually you're going to iron these as well, but that helps for the stitch out process. Now, step number 5 is to stitch this on its outer border so that it's stitched down. And we can go ahead and proceed with that. Golly, my needle came unthreaded again. Again, that's okay. That's what automatic threaders are for, to make it easy. There we go. Now we'll just go ahead and stitch out step number 5. And sometimes I just keep my fingers there to kind of help it. That's also a good time to kind of use your stylus, so not to get your fingers in there by the needle and the foot. So now technically we've stitched out our half square triangle. Congratulations, you did it if you've been sewing along with me. However, there's one more step. Step 6 will be a stitch out all the way around the block. And you might ask why. Well, a couple of reasons. One, it's going to connect these pieces that are right here at the corner between the two fabrics, or if I had multiple fabrics, it would connect them all the way around. And that box will also become our guide for trimming and our guide for sewing our squares together. You'll see that more in the trimming part of this video. So now I can, if I like, just use a stylus to hold this down here. The thing you're trying to prevent is to have your foot from catching here and flipping this back and causing problems. It's always fixable, but who wants to have to fix it if we don't need to? So you can use a stylus, or what I like to do is use my embroidery tape here. I don't put embroidery tape all the way around because it's not needed. I just put it over that point there, and then I know that that's not going to catch. Now you're going to say, oh, well, you're going to put it down there as well. I could, but because my foot is going to go around in a clockwise direction, it's not going to catch here because it's going over that fold. Here it would be coming against the fold. So you can put tape there or not. Let's go ahead and do that stitch out and I'll show you what I mean. So it's going to start up here in the corner and it's going to stitch in a clockwise direction. So I wouldn't want it to catch that. And see, it doesn't because it slides right over it because of the tape. Now, when it comes here, I don't have to worry because it's going with that fabric. It's not going to catch. Now, if it makes you a little nervous, just put a little piece of tape there until you're more confident. That's also fine. So then when we go over to trimming in a little bit, I will take this and I will peel this tape off, and then we will trim this out of the hoop. But congratulations, you just created your first half square triangle. That's how easy it is to create these squares in any size. This happens to be the 4-inch finish, but this could have been a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or any other size that you might happen to have. But in this set, we go up to 5 inches finished. So we'll talk about trimming in another part of the video. Let's move on to our quarter square triangle.
Main triangle, or the first top half of it. This is going to be the modified part. This is the part of the modified half square triangle that looks like the quarter square triangle. So for this one, we need 2 of those triangles. Now this is going to be my print. You use 2 pieces of print for this. So you're going to use a bigger piece for the second half, and you're going to use a triangle. And then you're going to have a solid. This is definitely a print that reads as a solid, right? I mean, I wouldn't even think twice about calling that a print. I would just call that a solid with a nice little background. All right, so on this one, I'm going to take it out and hold it up for you. In fact, let's go back to the other camera for a moment, because I think it will help you to see this underneath this camera where the light's better. Well, except that it's on dark or gray thread, so you really can't see it. Okay. I'm going to follow my lead here, okay? So here, actually, I know what I'll do. Here is, just using a Sharpie, won't hurt anything. Here is my, see, I can't even draw a straight line when I'm following a straight line. Here is that first triangle that it stitches out. Then it comes in and the last part of it and it splits it like this, right? So this is the part that looks like the quarter square triangle. This is the modified part of the modified half square triangle. So the very first thing you're going to do is place your fabric for this upper triangle. That's your next part. That's the part that gets stitched down right side up. And this, again, will be one that we trim. So I'm just going to lay this on here so that it's right there. And I'm not even going to bring you back over here yet because this is going to stitch out really quick and then we're going to trim it. So let's just let that stitch quickly and I'll show it to you back under this camera. So hang on with me for just one moment while that stitches out. I think it'll be easier on you than the flipping. There has to be a better way for me to flip these cameras that way, but that's the only way I know to do it now. So I apologize if that's a problem. All right. And all right. And bring this back over and show you. All right. So here is that triangle stitched down. There is my stitching. But see, I've got a lot of extra fabric here again. So we're going to do the trimming. I've got my double curved scissors and I'm just trimming this right down all the way around. The reason I like this double curve is a friend of mine, when I first started embroidery, she told me to get curved embroidery scissors, curved applique scissors. And so I did, but the curve was only a single curve. It just came down and out. And it didn't do what I needed them to do. She said, you need to have that upward second curve. And the reason is because with this flat, it's almost like a duck bill in a way. It allows you, if you're going to actually trim right up next to your stitch line, you're able to guide it really well along that stitch line because of that second little curve there. And I, once I purchased these scissors at my local fabric shop, I've just never looked back. I really love them. I love Karen K. Buckley's flat, just like these little guys. These are flat. So it's harder when I'm right up on that line. I'm still on point with this. Whereas this one, I have a little bit of a bevel so I can guide it. Now, Karen K. Buckley does have, let me bring these over, these little tiny ones that are, they're not really a double curve, but they curve up enough. Some people really like these. I find them just too small and the blade a little bit too small, to be quite honest. But I have them, and if this is the only thing I had in the room, I would use them. But what I really like are these ones by Hall. And that's the nice thing, is there are so many embroidery scissors on the market and applique scissors on the market that you get what you like best. And I'll tell you something, I will do a little video on different embroidery scissors because I will talk specifically about that duckbill scissor. Because those of you that are left-handed and people are telling you, oh, just do this and this and this with the right-handed ones, nuh-uh. you're using them incorrectly. You could get hurt that way, and it could ruin your project that way too. If you're left-handed and you want a duckbill, purchase yourself a left-handed duckbill scissor. They are out there, and they are definitely worth the time. Now I'm trying to find my other fabric. It's falling on the floor, and I can't see it. And it was right here, and I moved it. It's gone somewhere. I'm gonna have to back this up for a second. Hang on. I know. Oh, there it is. I know it's on the floor here somewhere. I like my chair because it will go up and down, so I can lower it and get down to where stuff is at. I hope you can't see me doing that. That's silly. But right now, there is my chair back up. That's the way it is, right? We all have this. Let me bring my table back in. We'll straighten that for you. Okay, so now we're done with this one, and we're going to do this one. So again, we're going to have to trim this, but again, I'm going to lay it right sides together, let a little bit of that bottom fabric show through. Let me attach this to my machine, and let's flip back over. Oh, yeah, that's all right. And we're going to stitch that down. So now we've done the modified part. The next part is just adding the other half of the half square triangle on. This particular pattern at 500 stitches per minute, it says stitches out in 3 minutes. So all of these stitch out somewhere between 2 and 3 minutes. So not much time at all. Oh no, I laid it down incorrectly. All right, so now you get to see me fix a boo-boo. Let's bring our camera over. I wasn't really paying attention. Hang on. Okay, that's not a problem. I'm gonna back up my. This is what I get trying to talk and stitch at the same time. All right, so let's take a look. See what I did here? I laid the triangle this way. Well, when I go like this, it's not going to fit there, right? And that's obviously plenty of fabric. So I'm just coming in here. I am just stitching a little bit. Here's another. These are other things that I like to use. This little curved snip here. The one I really like as well is this curved one with the hook. The curved one with the hook, I know that OESD sells them. I don't know who else might sell them, but I do think there is another company, but the OESD ones are the ones that I use. So then I'm going to take a piece of my embroidery tape. I'm going to lay it on that seam line, and it's just going to pull out any leftover thread from that. That's how I clean that up. See, nice and clean now. And it's all on that little piece of tape because I'm not sitting there and picking that out, right? So this is how you should lay this down. You want to lay it down. So see how this is, right, wait. See how this with the point down, you want to lay this down the same way, again, with a little bit showing. So now when I flip, it's going to cover everything. So you want this right side down with the point going the same direction as the fabric underneath it. So you want to lay this the same way as that fabric. Now we'll place this back on the machine. And again, I'll just let it stitch that line really quickly. And then I'll bring it back over and we'll take a look at it. Alrighty, now we're going to bring this back over. So here we have our fabric down. I'm going to give it a little swipe of my glue stick. I'm going to bring in my seam roller. Now I'm going to flip that. Now that's perfect, right? And now I'm just going to give that a bit of a press with my seam roller. See how nice and flat that is now? Now let's flip back over to our other camera. There we go. And we will stitch this down, and then we'll be pretty much ready to finish this one up. So I'm glad I made these little goats while we're going, because I want to show you all, it's a good way to show you all how easy it is to fix these if you get little goofs like that. It's not the end of the world. It's not a big time suck from your total scenario. You just have to take, that was like 30 seconds to fix that, right? Now, so hang on. I'm going to stop this for a second. I'm going to go to the next step, but I want to come in here and just trim away a little bit of this. I'll show you when we go back under, because I've got a little bit too much of it right there. I don't want all of that underneath my next piece of fabric. Okay, so see, I just trimmed this away so that there wasn't so much there. Okay. There we go. Now I'm going to lay my next piece of fabric down. Now, granted, I have a really big piece of fabric here. You will not need a piece this big. I just cut it and went with it. I'm laying this down again. This is my fabric that is my print. There we go. Now we're going to stitch this down. Easy. Give it a swipe of glue while it's just in there. Okay. We're going to flip everything all nice and a little seam roll. Now, I will have enough fabric here left over that I'll have a whole triangle still to use on my next modified half square triangle at the beginning. So nothing of this extra is going to go to waste. I'll show you what I mean in a moment. So now we have our final stitch out all the way around. And I really just need to be careful on this corner, but it should be fine. There we go. And that is our modified half square triangle. Isn't that easy? None of these are difficult. Okay. We're going to flip the camera back over because now we're going to finish up everything else under this main. Okay, so here we go. So see, we have all this fabric left over, but if I cut this right this way, that's going to be more than enough for me to do another. In fact, I could probably even cut that in half and have two pieces left to do two more squares in that fabric. I try not to do unnecessary big pieces like this that are going to be wasted. Here we go. Now, let me very first thing I want to do is trim this side because I'm going to go ahead and trim it all the way off corner to corner. I'm going to line up my quarter square just like I have before, right? So, or my quarter inch right on that line. Slide that up so it goes off. There we go. That's great. I've got my quarter inch. Now I'm going to take my seam or my rotary cutter right here, and I'm going to cut all the way up and off of that. Now I have this piece of fabric, and I'll be able to use that for this piece 2 more times. Plus, I'm going to get another piece over here I could probably use as well. Let us just trim this and take a look. So when I give you these measurements, don't freak out on them because you're going to be able to get your extra blocks done in them just from this one piece because you'll need to make 4 of the modified half square triangles. And okay, so there is our modified half square triangle. Easy.
Okay, and here is our last demonstration for our last piece, our last segment piece, which is our diamond in a square. It is by far the one with the most steps. There are 12 steps, but again, they're all very simple, very easy. I've prepped my fabric, so I was told to cut 2 squares and then subcut those squares into triangles. I've done that. And I've cut my center square. Now, the one nice thing about the diamond in a square is if I want to create different patterns, I can do 3 in one color and a 4th in another color, and that can start joining things together and modifying things. There's so much that you can do with this. This is also a really nice block if you're doing a friendship quilt and you want to do a light fabric as the center diamond and then put your name and a date or anything like that in the center. Now, as I said, this has 12 steps to it. There are 3 full pages of step-by-step instructions, and we're going to walk through them right now. And the very first step says stitch out machine step 1 directly on your stabilizer, just like we did with our other 2. And we're going to do that also with step 2 in this one. We're going to stitch it out on the stabilizer as well, because it gives us a placement for our diamond fabric, which is our larger square piece here. Okay, there's step 1, nice and finished, so we know how big our block is going to be. Now we're going to do a step 2 stitch out directly on the stabilizer. And if you're wondering, I am demonstrating the 5-inch size today in all 3 of our segments. However, this is the exact same pattern and you follow the exact same steps, whether you're doing the 3-inch, the 4-inch, or the 5-inch. Okay, I have a little bit of a concern with my thread here. I'm going to rethread. That, for some reason, it's giving me a little bit of a snag. We'll rethread there, and I'm just going to take a quick look. Whenever I rethread the top for something like that, I like to look also at my bobbin thread, and I had just changed my bobbin thread between segments, and so it could be that I had not placed my bobbin in properly. So let's just redo that really quickly, just to make sure everything is right. Alrighty, so here is step 1 and step 2. And step 3 says place a fabric, I apologize. This is also part of step 2. Place a fabric, no, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong instructions. I apologize again. This is step 3 we're on. Place a fabric A square over space 1. That's this space. and stitch machine step 3 and trim the excess on all 4 sides, remembering to leave enough fabric beyond the boundary lines at the top and the bottom and the sides. So we'll do that. So I'm going to put a little bit of my glue stick in my center. And I'm going to place, now you can place your fabric if you like on the diamond point like that, or you can place it like that. I think you get a better amount for cutting excess when you place it on the point, just like that. We'll slide this back in and we'll now do step 3. There, that looks better. And now we're going to trim this on all 4 sides, but remembering to leave fabric outside the outer boundary at the points. Okay. So let's go ahead and bring down our camera. And I'm going to start out here. And I'm going to trim this edge. And once I get beyond the boundary, I kind of see how I kind of curved off. That's going to make sure I have more than plenty of fabric beyond my point here. And I'm going to kind of do the same thing. I'm going to start way out here and then kind of come into my 1/4 inch. So I'm kind of doing this almost like a half moon when I cut this out, just because I want to make sure that I'm leaving myself plenty of fabric, because you can see when you cut your second side, you get a little, it gets a little small there. It's going to be plenty with the other fabric over it, but I want to make sure that I'm leaving plenty there. So I start out here and I kind of cut it like a half moon shape a little bit. There we go. And you can see that here. It starts out here, comes down, and comes back out of it. Now I have one more side to cut. And I'm going to do it the exact same way. Okay. So that leaves me with plenty of fabric. Even though it's a little bit, it's going to get covered with this fabric, and that's going to leave me plenty for trimming. Now, the next step goes on to page 2 and says, step 4, place a B fabric number 2 triangle right side down on top of fabric A as seen in diagram and stitch machine step 4. And that is going to be right here. This is, whoops, this is place 2. Okay, put our camera back up there a little bit and place my first piece of fabric. So just like that, my fabric B, number 2 right here, it's going to flip up into that number 2 space, just like you see in your diagram. And I don't have to do any more trimming on this now until I take it out. It's just that first square that needs a little bit of trimming. Just put a wee bit of fabric glue there. Flip my fabric. Give it a little bit of a finger press. Now, the next step is to tack number 2 down, which is exactly what we're going to do. This is step 5 and machine step 5 as well. And we are just moving counterclockwise around our diamond. So next is to do the same thing in area 3, which is right below area 2. So I'm just going to take my next fabric and place it like so. And now machine step 6. And all of this is written out and diagrammed for you in the instructions. I'll bring it here so you can see it's in the instructions step by step. But once you've done the first one, you do all the other 3 corners the exact same way. Now we're at machine step 7. And even though this one has a lot more steps, it still only takes 3 minutes to stitch it out. Okay, now we're going to place number 4 here on this edge. So we're just coming over to the bottom left part of the diamond. And we're going to do machine step 8. And I'm just going to swipe a little glue there. And flip my fabric. And now we're at machine step 9. And that is our tack down for space number 4. And we're on page 3 of the Diamond in a Square instructions. And we're almost done. We're now to space number 5 and piece number 5. Okay, we're going to place that one just like this. And this is a really good segment to also show you why we do the boundary box at the end and we don't use the beginning placement box. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we go to trim these out. We'll hold that for trimming these out. We'll talk about that. Put my glue. I'm going to flip my, look what I did. I placed my fabric in the wrong direction. Bad me. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go back to step number 10. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to take my scissors and snip my thread right here, right where they're connected. And I'm going to snip it off and redo it because I placed my fabric going the wrong direction. I wasn't paying attention because I was talking to you guys. That happens. So remember, after your first piece of fabric, all other pieces of fabric must get placed right side down. So there we go. Now I'm right. And I'll come in here with a little bit of tape. And I'll just pull this excess out. There we go. See, even having to fix that just takes no time at all. Now I'm placing this right side down this time, and I'm back on step 10, which is the tack down, and I'm off to the races. Super simple. And yes, even I occasionally make a mistake, and I was talking with you all and put my fabric down going the wrong direction. But that was a super easy fix. Now I'm going to flip this. And we're going to stitch machine step 11. I think it might be time for me to change my needle. My needle is, do you hear that thunking a little bit when it goes up and down? That usually means it's time for a new needle. And I just finished a quilt and forgot to change it today. So probably need to do that. Now, and this one, I'm going to put tape in all 4 of my joining areas. To hold that fabric down. And so although your fabric is generous, when you look at it like this, you don't have much excess. You have plenty, but you don't have a lot of extra excess. So there is no wasting of fabric in this scenario. Now we're going to do machine step 12, and we're done with our diamond in a square. How simple was that? I'm a little concerned about that piece right there. There we go. Now, instead of using my finger, I could have used a stiletto or something to hold that down because you just don't want your finger getting in there and by chance getting stitched. I actually, after 55 plus years of sewing and quilting, I actually stitched my finger just this past year. It was not fun at all. Alrighty. Now we have our diamond in a square complete. Okay, now let's go over to my other camera and we're going to talk about how we trim these out of the stabilizer.